The forest visitor. The fire crackled softly as Jake placed another log onto the flames. He sat on a flat rock, deep in the forest, where the night was quiet and the stars were bright. He had been camping here for 2 days, far away from noise, cities and people. All he wanted was peace, a little time alone with nature. He stretched and stood up. Just one more walk before bed, he whispered to himself. He grabbed his flashlight and walked into the trees looking for dry sticks. The woods were calm, but something in the air felt different tonight. Maybe it was the wind, or maybe it was the way the animals had gone silent. After 20 minutes, Jake returned to his campsite, his arms full of firewood. As he stepped closer to his tent, he froze. Someone was standing right next to it, a woman. But not just any woman. Her skin glowed faint blue in the moonlight. Her hair shimmered like silver threads falling gently around her face. Her eyes, large and shining, watched him with a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her left arm was bleeding, and she looked like she had run for miles. Jake dropped the sticks in shock. "What the hell?" he muttered. The woman didn't move. She held one hand out slowly, like she didn't want to scare him. Her lips opened, but the words weren't English. They sounded soft, musical, but completely unknown to him. Are you okay?" Jake asked, stepping closer. She winced and fell to her knees. He rushed forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was warm, too warm. Her body shook slightly like she had a fever. "Who are you?" he whispered. She looked into his eyes and spoke again, this time slower. One word stood out: help. Jake's heart pounded. This was real. This wasn't a dream or some story. This woman wasn't human, but she was real, and she was in pain. He gently helped her sit near the fire. She watched the flames closely, like she had never seen them before. He grabbed his small first aid kit and began cleaning her wound. She hissed quietly but didn't pull away. As he worked, he noticed a strange metal device strapped to her wrist. It blinked softly like a pulse. Maybe some kind of alien technology? Jake didn't touch it. Instead, he focused on wrapping her arm. Suddenly, the fire flickered hard, then went out. A cold wind rushed through the trees. Jake stood quickly, looking around. What was that? The woman's eyes widened. She stood up fast, almost falling, again. She looked to the sky, pointing. Jake followed her gaze. Above the trees in the darkness, faint red lights moved, like small machines flying low, scanning the forest. Drones. The woman grabbed his hand tightly. Her voice shook as she said 2 words. "They're coming." Jake didn't ask who. He didn't need to. Whatever they were, she was terrified of them. And now, they were close. He nodded. "This way," he said quickly. He grabbed his flashlight, threw a blanket over her shoulders, and led her away from the tent and the dead fire. They moved through the forest as quietly as possible, the soft hum of machines growing louder behind them. Whatever peace Jake had hoped for on this trip was now gone. The forest wasn't just trees and birds anymore. It had become a place of secrets and a place of danger. And somewhere deep inside, Jake knew this was only the beginning. Hunted in the woods, the forest seemed darker now. Jake led the strange alien woman through the trees, his flashlight flickering with each step. Behind them, the soft humming of flying machines grew louder. Red lights moved in the sky, smooth, silent, and searching. They weren't just random drones. They were hunting her. "Keep moving," Jake whispered. The woman stumbled beside him, breathing heavily. Her steps were slow, unsteady. Jake wrapped her arm over his shoulder to support her weight. Her skin was still burning hot, and the glow from her veins, yes, her veins glowed faintly, was pulsing faster now, like she was scared, or something inside her was reacting to danger. "How far?" she asked softly, her voice cracked. "There's a dry riverbed just ahead," Jake said. "We can hide there." She nodded, her silver hair falling across her face. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to say something more, but she stayed silent. They reached the edge of the riverbed. The ground dipped sharply, and Jake helped, Her slide down into the shallow trench. Overgrown with tall grass and scattered rocks, it offered just enough cover. They crouched low as the red lights passed overhead. One drone stopped. It hovered above the trees, its light flickering in slow circular sweeps. "Don't move," Jake whispered. The woman clutched his arm tightly, her breath cold against his neck. A red beam from the drone swept across the treetops, then passed over the riverbed. It paused. Jake didn't blink. The beam held for 1 second, then 2. Then it moved on. The drone's hum faded as it flew past them. Jake didn't breathe again until the sound was gone completely. "What are they?" he asked, quietly. The woman looked at him. "Trackers. Sent to bring me back." "Who sent them?" She hesitated. "My people." "Why?" She looked down. "Because I refused to kill." Jake blinked. That wasn't the answer he expected. Before he could ask more, the woman touched the device on her wrist. It opened slightly, revealing a soft blue light. A small hologram appeared, tiny stars, spinning slowly in the air between them. "Earth is not their first," she said. "My people move from world to world, taking what they want. They call it cleansing. They say it's for peace, but it's not." Jake stared at the image. Dozens of planets marked in red, one by one blinking out. "You escaped?" "Yes. I saw what they planned for your world. I took this," she pointed to the device, "and ran. They will do anything to silence me." A chill ran down Jake's spine. He looked up at the sky through the trees. "You came here to warn us?" "Yes." "And they followed you?" "Yes." Deep rumble echoed from the distance. Jake turned toward the sound. Through the branches, a large dark shape moved in the sky. Not a drone. Something bigger. A ship. It hovered low, its engines so quiet they barely disturbed the leaves. Glowing, symbols lined its underside. "We need to go," the woman said quickly. "They will scan the forest. They will find us." Jake looked at her. "Can you walk?" "I'll try." They climbed out of the riverbed, moving fast and low through the trees. Jake led them deeper into the woods, where the trees grew thicker, and the shadows were heavier. Every step felt like it echoed. Every twig snapped too loud. Behind them, the humming returned. Closer now. They reached a cave, a small opening between jagged rocks. Jake remembered finding it when he first explored. This forest, he never thought he'd be using it to hide from aliens. "Get inside," he whispered. She crawled in first, her body trembling. Jake followed, pulling some branches over the entrance. Inside, the cave was cold and narrow, but it was safe, for now. They sat in silence, listening. Outside, the ship hovered. Then, footsteps. Not metal, not machines. Boots. Someone, or something, was walking outside. Jake peeked through a crack in the rock. A tall figure, armored and glowing with red light, stepped into view. Its face was hidden by a helmet, its movements smooth and too fast to be human. The alien woman whispered, "Shadow Guard." Jake turned to her. "Can they find us?" "If they scan this area, yes." Jake's mind raced. They needed a distraction, something to draw the guard away. He looked down at his backpack. Inside it, a flare, a lighter, and a small metal thermos. Not much, but maybe enough. He pulled out the flare, lit it quietly, and tossed it far across the trees from their position. A few seconds later, it sparked bright red, lighting up the forest floor. The guard turned instantly and ran toward it. "Now," Jake whispered. "We move." They crawled out, slipping into the shadows. Jake led her toward the cliffs near the edge of the forest. An old ranger's lookout stood there, abandoned and hidden in the rocks. They reached it just as more drones arrived. Jake pushed the door open and they slipped inside. For now they were safe again. The woman collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard. Jake knelt beside her. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked up at him. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. "Zira. I'm Jake," She nodded. Thank you, Jake. He nodded back, but his heart was heavy. If everything she said was true, then this wasn't just about her anymore. This was the beginning of something much bigger, and he was now a part of it. The Bond Begins the Ranger's cabin was old, forgotten, and covered in moss. Vines crept through broken window frames and dust filled the air. Jake helped Zira onto a rotting mattress in the corner. Outside, the wind howled as the ship passed. Overhead, slowly scanning the area. Inside, it was quiet, almost too quiet. Jake locked the door with a wooden beam. It wouldn't stop a laser blast, but it would slow down anything trying to come in quietly. He walked back to Zira, who was curled under an old blanket, her breathing uneven. He knelt beside her. You're burning up. Zira's eyes fluttered open. My body is adjusting to your planet. Atmosphere. Different. Gravity, too. Can I help? She hesitated, then nodded. There's a pouch. Right hip. Jake reached carefully and found a small container hidden under her torn outfit. Inside were glowing blue crystals, shimmering almost alive. Place one in water. It helps regulate my body. Jake grabbed his metal thermos, filled it from his emergency bottle, and dropped in a crystal. The water turned bright blue, then faded to a soft glow. He gave it to her. Zira drank slowly, the color returning to her face. Thank you, she said. He sat down across from her. Questions burned in his mind. Why Earth? Why now? Zira looked out the broken window. Your planet is a target. Your people are unprepared. The Council saw your world as a resource-rich zone. They planned to extract everything, then leave it hollow. Lifeless. And you tried to stop it? I was a commander. I gave orders once. I believed in the mission until I saw what we did to other planets. Children without homes. Oceans turned to dust. And for what? Power. She looked at him, her voice shaking. I couldn't do it again. Jake stayed quiet. He'd heard stories of alien invasions, but they were always fiction. Now, sitting across from him was a real alien. One who turned against her own people to save his world. So what's the plan, he asked. Zira opened the device on her wrist. It projected a map, stars and systems rotating in 3D. She pointed at one blinking dot. Earth. This is a beacon. It holds the invasion code. If they activate it, the first wave arrives in 2 days. Jake's stomach twisted. How do we stop it? We destroy the beacon. Can't we just turn it off? Not anymore. The signal has started. The only way to stop it is to destroy it, and I don't have the tools. Jake stood, pacing. There has to be a way. Tools, weapons, anything. Zira sat up slowly. I know a place. An old listening station in the mountains. It was used during early missions to monitor your planet. It has tech, enough to disrupt the beacon. Where is it? She tapped the hologram. A red marker blinked on the edge of the map. 50 miles northwest. We can't walk that far, not with drones flying around. There's a hidden transport buried under the forest. Old scout craft. I used it to get here. It's cloaked, but damaged. If we reach it, we can fly. Jake nodded. Then we go at first light. He sat beside her again, his voice softer. Why me? Zira looked at him, puzzled. Why come to me? Why not someone in the city, a scientist or soldier? She smiled faintly. I didn't choose. I was falling. My ship was hit. The forest caught me. And you found me. Jake let out a small laugh. Lucky me. They shared a quiet moment. Outside, a branch snapped. Both turned toward the door. Jake grabbed his flashlight, switched it off, and moved to the window. He peeked outside. A figure stood near the edge of the trees. Humanoid. Tall. Armored. Not a drone. Another shadow guard. But this one wasn't searching. It stood still. Waiting. Then it raised a device to its head. A red flare shot into the sky, bursting above the trees like fire. They found us, Zira whispered. How? The beacon. It's tracking me. Jake turned. Then we move. Now. They rushed to gather supplies. Zira clutched the beacon device while Jake packed food, water, and his emergency gear. Outside, more shadows moved through the trees. Jake peeked through a crack in the wall. 6 of them. Back door, he whispered. They slipped through a broken panel in the back wall and sprinted into the woods. Branches whipped past, roots pulled at their feet. Behind them, red lights lit the forest. They ran until Zira collapsed. I can't. Jake looked around. Up ahead, a narrow ridge overlooked the valley. He helped her up and pushed through the trees. They reached the edge and saw it, a half-buried ship. Sleek, silver, with broken wings and scorched hull plates. Vines had grown over it, hiding its shape from above. Is that it? Jake asked. Yes. They ran toward it. Zira pressed her hand to a panel near the nose of the ship. It glowed. A soft hum started. But behind them, movement. One of the guards burst from the trees. Jake turned to face it, fists up. The guard raised a weapon. Before it could fire, Zira's hand flashed with blue light. A pulse of energy shot out, slamming the guard into a tree. Go! She shouted. The ship's door opened. They jumped inside. Can it fly? Jake yelled. We'll see. She rushed to the controls, typing commands in her alien language. The engine whined. Systems blinked. Outside, 2 more guards approached. One threw something, a glowing orb. Zira slammed a lever. The ship roared. The orb hit the hull and exploded. Fire burst across the forest floor. The ship rose through the smoke, shaking violently. They cleared the trees, just as more drones arrived, firing weak lasers that bounced off the ship's armor. Inside, Jake gripped his seat. Where now? Zira's hands flew over the controls. To the mountains. The stars above looked calm. But Jake knew. This was far from over, and somewhere deep inside he felt it too. This mission wasn't just about saving Earth. It was about saving her. Secrets beneath the stars, the night sky stretched endless above them, a deep ocean of stars. The stolen alien craft sliced through the clouds in silence, rising toward the mountains where Zira said the old listening station lay. Jake sat beside her in the cockpit, eyes wide, hands clenched. Every hum, every beep from the ship felt unfamiliar. Alien. Beside him, Zira worked the controls with focused urgency. Her glowing wrist device blinked faster now, red and blue alternating. Rapidly. The beacon signal is growing stronger, she said quietly. They've locked onto me. Jake stared at the stars ahead. Then we better get there before they do. Beneath them, the land rolled by in darkness. Forests, hills, rivers reflecting moonlight like silver ribbons. The mountains loomed. Ahead, jagged silhouettes rising like ancient teeth. How old is this station? Jake asked. Almost 100 Earth years, Zira replied. It was built when my people first began monitoring Earth's potential. They abandoned it after deciding your planet wasn't ready. Ready for what? For contact. For control. Jake frowned. So you've been watching us for a long time? Not me. Them. Zira's voice trembled. There was something she wasn't saying. What is it? He asked. She hesitated, then finally said it. Your species was marked for destruction 2 decades ago. Jake's heart skipped. What? Your wars, your pollution, your division. They believed you were too dangerous to be left alone. But I disagreed. I saw your strength, your compassion. So I delayed the order. I erased data, bought time. Jake turned to her, stunned. You've been protecting us all this time? Trying, she said. But now the others know. They sent the Shadow Guard. And if the beacon completes its sequence, your world will face extinction. He looked out the window. The stars no longer looked beautiful. They looked like watchers, judges. The ship dipped low, skimming treetops as the mountain base came into view, an old circular dome hidden between cliffs. It was half buried in snow, covered in moss and metal rust. Strange alien symbols glowed faintly on the outer walls. Zira landed the ship behind a jagged rock ridge. The engines powered down with a hiss. "We're here," she said. They exited, the ship into freezing wind. Jake pulled his jacket tight as they approached the station's side door. Zira pressed her wrist device against a panel. Lights flickered. The door slid open with a groan. Inside, the air was stale. Dust swirled in dim green lighting. Jake coughed. "This place is ancient. But the core is still active," Zira said. "We just need to reach the control center." They moved down narrow hallways lined with forgotten tech. Screens that showed strange languages, machines half covered in frost. Jake noticed shapes in the corners. Frozen skeletons. Not human. "They left in a hurry," he muttered. "They always do," Zira said softly. They reached a chamber with a tall central pillar. Glowing blue circuits pulsed along its surface. Zira walked to the console and began typing. "This will take a few minutes," she said. "I need to override the beacon's command stream." Jake stood near the entrance, flashlight in hand. The deeper they went, the more he felt like they weren't alone. Suddenly, Zira froze. "They're here." Jake turned. "What?" "They found the signal. They're coming." Outside, the ground trembled. A distant boom echoed across the mountains. They rushed to seal the doors. Zira triggered the station's defense protocol. A shimmering energy field covered the outer walls. "That won't hold them for long," she said. Jake grabbed a long metal rod from the corner. "Some kind of tool heavy enough to swing. Then we buy you time." The ground shook again. Above, something crashed through the treetops. A large shadow dropped into the valley. The warship had arrived. It hovered silently as drones flew from its sides, like mechanical insects swarming the station. One slammed into the defense shield and burst in sparks. Zira focused on the controls. Her hands moved faster. Lines of code streamed across the display. "Jake," she said. "Yeah? If they get through, destroy the core." He turned sharply. "What?" "If they breach the station and take this tech, they'll use it against you. Against everyone. Promise me." He stared at her. "I didn't come this far to blow it all up. Promise." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I promise." Outside, the drones formed a circle around the station. Then something bigger landed. A tall, dark figure stepped from the ship, armored from head to toe. Red light glowed from its chest and helmet. It moved slowly, like it had no fear. Zira looked. Up at the monitor, the general. "The what?" "He was my mentor, now my executioner." The figure raised an arm. A powerful blast hit the energy shield. The station shook. The lights dimmed. "They're forcing entry," Zira said. "How long do you need?" 5 minutes. I'll get you 10. Jake turned and ran down the hallway. He reached a side room where tools were stored, grabbing wires, panels, anything he could use. He moved to the entrance and set traps, wires to trip, metal beams to fall. The door cracked open. A guard stepped inside, tall and silent. Jake swung, the metal rod with all his strength. It hit the guard's head, sparks flying, the armor cracked. The guard stumbled back, but another one entered, and another. Jake ran, luring them into the trap. A support beam fell, crushing one. He ducked behind a console and threw a pipe. Metal rang across the floor, drawing their attention. He moved fast, staying low, buying time. Meanwhile, in the control room, Zira's fingers flew across the console. Almost there. Almost. The beacon flashed red. No. She slammed a button. The console beeped. Signal disrupted, but not destroyed. She ran to the power conduit and pulled a glowing core from its socket. "It's not enough," she whispered. The door burst. "Open." Jake flew in, blood on his forehead, breathing hard. "We have to go," he shouted. "We can't. We have to finish it here." "How?" She handed him the core. "Take it to the ship. Drop it into the planet's magnetic line. It will destroy the signal. And you? I'll stay and keep the guards here." "No," he said firmly. "We go together." "Jake, I promised you, and I keep my promises." He grabbed her hand. They ran. Behind them, the general roared, a deep mechanical voice shaking the walls. Traitor. The station began to collapse. They made it to the ship. Zyra powered it up. The general appeared at the ridge, raising a cannon. The ship lifted. A blast hit the side. Alarms blared. Engine damaged, Zyra said. But we can still fly. We have to. They soared into the sky. The station exploded. Below, fire chasing them through the clouds. Jake dropped the core into a canyon lined with natural magnetic rock. It vanished into the earth. A second later, a blue wave pulsed through the sky, disrupting every drone signal. They all fell. The general's warship shut down. Silence returned. Inside the ship, Zyra collapsed into her seat. We did it. Jake looked at her. We did. But they both knew. This war wasn't over. Not yet. Betrayal in orbit the sky burned behind them as the ship limped through the upper atmosphere. Alarms blinked red. The engine sputtered. Zyra's hands were trembling on the controls, her face pale with exhaustion. Jake sat beside her, his shirt stained with blood, watching her closely. We're not going to make it like this, he said. I know, Zyra replied. But I have one more contact. Someone who owes me a life. Jake raised an eyebrow. Another alien? Yes. Not from my world, but part of the resistance. If he's still alive, he can repair the ship. Zyra entered coordinates, and the ship turned sharply toward orbit. The stars seemed to draw closer, like cold eyes staring down at them. Jake watched as the blue of Earth faded into the black of space. You sure we can trust him? Jake asked. Zyra didn't answer right away. I saved his child once. He gave me a code. If ever in danger, come to him. He said his loyalty would last forever. I've heard that before, Jake muttered. Loyalty fades. Then we find out, she said quietly. The ship approached a broken ring of satellites floating in orbit, an old defense grid left behind by another race. Hiding inside it was a small gray vessel, barely visible. Zyra sent out a coded pulse. The other ship responded. They docked slowly. Inside, the airlock hissed open, revealing a tall alien with 6 eyes and bronze armor. He looked at Zyra, then at Jake. You brought a human, the alien said in a deep, clicking voice. I brought a friend, Zyra answered. The alien tilted his head. The signal? You destroyed it? Interrupted it, Zyra said. But not for long. They'll come again. Then follow me. We have work to do. They entered the resistance vessel, a tight, dim corridor filled with alien tech. Jake could barely keep up with the blinking lights and odd smells. You can fix our ship? He asked. The alien, named Korvik, grunted. Barely. It was hit, hard. But I can give you something better. He led them to a hangar where a small scout-class ship sat, sleek, fast, armed with stealth plating. Zyra blinked. You kept this? For you, Korvik replied. In case you ever came back. She smiled softly. Korvik helped them transfer data from the broken ship into the new one. While Zyra worked, Jake wandered the ship. It felt too quiet, too still. Then he found something strange. A communication terminal, with recent messages. He couldn't read the alien language, but one symbol repeated, a symbol that matched the one on the shadow guards. He backed away, suspicious. He found Zyra again. We need to talk. They moved to a private corner. He's working with them, Jake said. Zyra stared. What? I saw it. He sent messages. Maybe he called them. She frowned, clearly shaken. Why would he betray me? Maybe loyalty does fade. Before they could act, alarms blared. Korvik's voice echoed through the ship. Incoming vessels! Jake grabbed Zyra's hand. We need to run, now. They sprinted toward the new scout ship. As they climbed aboard, Korvik appeared at the hangar entrance, weapon raised. You should have left her when you had the chance, he snarled. You're selling her out? Jake shouted. She defied her kind. And you're nothing. But they're offering freedom, protection, power. So you lied, Zyra whispered. I did what I had to, Korvik said. But before he could fire, Jake threw a wrench across the room, striking a control panel. The lights flickered. Steam burst from a pipe. Zira shot the door's override, and the hatch slammed shut between them. They launched. Outside, 2 enemy ships arrived. Sleek and black, their engines glowing red. They fired instantly. Zira jerked the controls. The scout ship dodged and weaved, spinning between debris and broken satellites. Jake strapped in, heart racing. "Where are we going now?" he shouted. "We need backup," Zira said, "and I know where to find it." "You better, because they're on our tail." A laser blast shook the hull. Zira activated a stealth field, and the ship vanished from sensors. The enemy ships flew past, searching blind. "How long does the cloak last?" Jake asked. "A few minutes. It drains fast." "So what's this place we're heading to?" "A hidden moon. Not on any map. A sanctuary for outlaws and survivors, and someone there has a weapon that could end this." Jake looked at her. "You mean, end the war?" "Yes. But he's not easy to find. And he doesn't like humans." "Great." The ship shot toward a gas giant. Hidden in its shadow was a small icy moon, barely more than a rock. They landed near an abandoned station built into a cliff. As they stepped out, icy wind whipped around them. Jake pulled his jacket tight again. Inside the station, dim lights glowed from the floor. "Stay close," Zira said, "and don't talk unless I say." They entered a chamber lined with weapons and tech. Standing at the center was a tall figure, half machine, half organic. A single glowing eye watched them. "Zira," the figure said, voice metallic. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," she replied. "Who's the meatbag?" "My partner." Jake opened his mouth. "Don't," Zira warned. The figure laughed. "You bring me a human and expect help?" "You have a disruptor core," she said. "I need it." The figure leaned in. "And why would I give it to you?" "Because if you don't, they'll come for you next." The figure paused. Then slowly he turned and opened a locked crate. Inside was a glowing orb pulsing with strange energy. "Take it," he said. "But know this. Once activated, it cannot be undone." "We'll use it wisely," she said. They left quickly. Back, on the ship, Jake stared at the orb. "What does it do?" "It sends a pulse that disables all beacon signals permanently, but only once. After that, it self-destructs. So 1 shot. Yes." They powered up the ship, but before they could launch, a shadow guard ship appeared above the moon. "They found us," Zira whispered. "How?" "They must have followed our heat trail." The scout ship rose fast, but the enemy was faster. A missile locked on. Zira turned to Jake. "If we don't make it, we will." He reached out and took her hand. The missile closed in. The disruptor orb glowed. Jake held it in his hands. "Tell me when." "Now." He slammed it into the control slot. A wave of light burst from the ship, spreading across space. The enemy ship flew past, searching blind. "How long does the cloak last?" Jake asked. "A few minutes. It drains fast." "So what's this place we're heading to?" "A hidden moon. Not on any map. A sanctuary for outlaws and survivors. And someone there has a weapon that could end this." Jake looked at her. "You mean, end the war?" "Yes. But he's not easy to find, and he doesn't like humans." "Great." The ship shot toward a gas giant. Hidden in its shadow was a small, icy moon, barely more than a rock. They landed near an abandoned station built into a cliff. As they stepped out, icy wind whipped around them. Jake pulled his jacket tight again. Inside the station, dim lights glowed from the floor. "Stay close," Zira said. "And don't talk unless I say." They entered a chamber lined with weapons and tech. Standing at the center was a tall figure, half machine, half organic. A single glowing eye watched them. "Zira," the figure said, voice metallic. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," she replied. "Who's the meatbag?" "My partner." Jake opened his mouth. "Don't," Zira warned. The figure laughed. "You bring me a human and expect help?" "You have a disruptor core," she said. "I need it." The figure leaned in. And why would I give it to you? Because if you don't, they'll come for you next. The figure paused. Then slowly he turned and opened a locked crate. Inside was a glowing orb pulsing with strange energy. Take it, he said. But know this. Once activated, it cannot be undone. We'll use it wisely, she said. They left quickly. Back, on the ship, Jake stared at the orb. What does it do? It sends a pulse that disables all beacon signals permanently, but only once. After that, it self-destructs. So one shot, yes. They powered up the ship, but before they could launch, a shadow guard ship appeared above the moon. They found us, Zero whispered. How? They must have followed our heat trail. The scout ship rose fast, but the enemy was faster. A missile locked on. Zyra turned to Jake. If we don't make it, we will. He reached out and took her hand. The missile closed in. The disruptor orb glowed. Jake held it in his hands. Tell me when. Now. He slammed it into the control slot. A wave of light burst from the ship, spreading across space. The enemy ship froze mid-air. Its systems shut down. The missile vanished in a flicker, and the shadow guard fell. Powerless. Zyra fell back in her seat, breathing hard. We did it. Jake looked at her. Not yet, but we're getting closer. One human against a fleet. The void of space was eerily silent after the disruptor pulse. Jake stared out the viewport, watching pieces of disabled enemy drones drift lifelessly. Zyra sat beside him, her fingers trembling above the ship's console. She had never seen so many enemy units fall at once, not even during the resistance uprisings. We stopped them, Jake said softly. Zyra nodded. For now. The silence didn't last long. A distant vibration rippled through the cockpit. A signal, not sound. The console blinked red. Zyra's eyes widened. What is it? Jake asked. They're responding, she said. Not with drones, with a fleet. Jake stood. How big? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she opened the star map. Red symbols flooded the screen. Dozens, then hundreds, each marked. A warship, a cruiser, or a command vessel, all converging on one location, Earth. They're not going to wait for the beacon this time, Zyra said. They know I've interfered too many times. Now they're sending everything. Jake clenched, his fists. Then we fight. Zyra looked at him surprised. We can't face them all. We have no army. Then we find one, Jake said. Someone somewhere must still be out there, someone who will stand with us. She studied his face. His determination didn't flicker, even with the weight of extinction pressing down. I know one place, she said finally. A station, in neutral space, a gathering ground for mercenaries, smugglers, outcasts, and old rebels. If anyone still remembers the cost of war, they'll be there. They set course immediately. As the ship raced through the stars, Zyra worked on boosting their communications array. Jake helped her piece together a message, a call for unity, for survival. He stood in front of the ship's holo recorder, nervous but firm. This is Jake Carter, he began. A human from Earth. Your systems may see us as weak, divided, unworthy. But we are not. His voice grew stronger. One of your own, Zyra, risked everything to protect our world. Now a fleet is coming. To erase us. To wipe out a planet that never asked for war. But I'm asking for help. Not just for Earth, but for all the worlds next in line. He paused. They'll come for you too, unless we stand together now. Zyra ended the transmission and sent it across known space. As they approached the rebel station, an enormous ring-shaped structure orbiting a dead star, they were met with suspicion. Weapons targeted them instantly. State your intent, came the voice over comms. Zyra answered. Zyra of the Broken Wing. I bring a message. And a warning, a long pause, then. Dock slowly, any tricks, and we turn you into dust. They docked. Inside, the station was a storm of noise. Mercs in ragged armor, aliens trading weapons, exiles arguing politics over drinks that glowed. Jake felt every stare. They walked to the central forum, where a council of 5 veteran warlords sat behind a half-circle of scorched steel. Zira stood tall. "The fleet is coming," she told them. "Not for a fight, but for a purge." One of the warlords, a scarred, one-eyed alien named Delnoth, scoffed. "Why should we care what happens to a dirt rock called Earth?" Jake stepped forward. "Because when they finish with us, they'll need a new target. And they won't choose planets that can fight back. They'll choose the scattered. The forgotten. The ones who think they're too small to matter." Another council member leaned forward. "What do you want?" "Ships," Zira said. "Fighters. Anything you can give." Laughter filled the chamber. "You think we'll risk our lives for a human?" "You already are," Jake replied. "The moment you don't act is the moment they win." The room went quiet. Finally, Delnoth stood. "You've got one chance, human. Show us you can fight." "How?" Jake asked. The warlord grinned. "The arena." The arena was built inside a hollow asteroid, a brutal place where blood proved value. Jake entered the sandy ring wearing scavenged armor. Zira watched from behind a shielded glass booth, her heart pounding. His opponent, a massive 4-armed warrior from a gravity world wielding twin shock blades. The crowd roared. "You don't have to do this," Zira had told him earlier. "Yes, I do," Jake replied. "They won't follow words, they'll follow action." The gong rang. The warrior charged. Jake dodged the first strike, rolled under the second. He had no special powers, no advanced tech, just speed, instincts, and desperation. He ducked another swing and jabbed a stun rod into the warrior's side. The creature screamed and spun, slicing Jake's side. Blood sprayed, but Jake stayed on his feet. He waited, then moved. A jump, a strike, a final swing with the rod straight into the warrior's jaw. The beast collapsed. Silence. Then the arena erupted in cheers. Back in the forum, Delnoth clapped slowly. "Not bad. For a human." Zira stepped forward. "We don't have time. For games, will you help or not?" The warlords exchanged glances. Then one by one, they nodded. "We'll call the old flags," Delnoth said. "You have 1 fleet now. Better make it count." Within hours, old rebel ships from Forgotten Wars joined Zira's scout ship in orbit. Patched together cruisers, cloaked fighters, even battle-scarred warships thought lost. It wasn't much, but it was something. And it was ready. Zira stood on the command deck beside Jake. "They're coming," she said. "Then let them come," Jake replied. On the edge of the solar system, the enemy fleet arrived, an endless wave of black steel and red fire. And waiting for them in front of Earth was a human, not a soldier, not a legend, just Jake Carter. The first to stand, but not the last. The last stunned, a quiet stillness covered space, an unnatural calm before the storm. Jake stood on the deck of the rebel command ship, gazing out at the infinite stars. Beyond them, just beyond Mars, the enemy fleet loomed like a dark cloud swallowing the galaxy. Hundreds of warships, thousands of drones, red energy pulsing like a heartbeat of destruction. Earth was behind him, and Jake Carter, the once forgotten human camper, stood in front of it, no longer alone. Beside him were old warships held together by memories. Smugglers, rebels, outcasts, defectors, survivors united by one impossible hope. "How long until contact?" Jake asked. Zira tapped the controls. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full of weight. 12 minutes, they're not slowing down." He nodded. Delnoth's voice came through the comms. "You sure about this, human? Once we fire the first shot, there's no walking away." Jake replied without hesitation. "We never meant to walk away." Inside the enemy flagship, high above the burning stars, the general of the Shadow Guard watched the approaching resistance with cold amusement. "They gather like insects," he said. "They think they matter." A second in command, tall and armor-plated, stepped forward. Zira is among them, and the human. The general's eyes narrowed. "Bring them to me, alive," He raised one gauntlet, and the fleet began to advance. On the command deck, Jake turned to Zira. Whatever happens out there, I want you to know, I would do this all over again. Sarah looked at him. You already gave me a future. If this is the end, then it's more than I ever had. Not the end, he whispered. Just the hardest part. The alarm blared. Enemy ships closing in. The first wave hit. Space lit up, like a thunderstorm. Laser fire streaked between the fleets. Rebel fighters twisted through gaps, dodging missiles, striking with stolen tech. The enemy countered with cold, perfect precision. No emotion, just efficiency. Jake's ship shook. Zira gripped the controls. We can't hold them, she said. We need something bigger. Delnoth's voice crackled through the channel. The disruptor didn't reach their command vessels. They're shielded. Then we take out the shield generator, Zira replied. Easier said than done, Delnoth growled. No, Jake said. We can do it, we just need to get close. He turned to Zira. Take me in. She stared at him. Jake, no. We have one shot. I get inside that flagship. I plant the overload core. We end this before Earth is gone. You won't survive. I don't have to, just make sure it works. Zira grabbed his hand. Don't make me lose you. He smiled, eyes burning. You saved me once. Now let me return the favor. In silence, they loaded the core, an unstable sphere of alien energy salvaged from the rebel moon. It would overload the flagship's reactor if placed at its heart. Zira and Jake flew in a stolen stealth pod racing through chaos. Ships exploded around them. A friendly cruiser was torn apart by plasma beams. Almost there, Zira said, voice tight. The flagship loomed ahead, massive, monstrous, a shadow that swallowed stars. They flew underneath, dodging defenses. Zira found a maintenance shaft. This is where you go in, she said, not turning to look at him. Jake touched her face. You've shown me what it means to matter, to fight. Thank you, Zira. Her eyes welled. This isn't goodbye. Not yet. He climbed out. The hatch closed behind him, and then he was gone. Inside the flagship, Jake moved fast. Armed, only with the overload core and a pulse pistol. He snuck through corridors pulsing with red light. Guards passed by. He hid, waited, crept forward. The ship shook from outside attacks but held firm. He reached the main reactor. A colossal engine thrummed in a pit of energy. Conduits pulsed like veins. He placed the core beneath the central conduit. Goodbye, he whispered. Step away, came a voice. The general stood at the entrance, towering, terrible, sword in hand. You're brave, he said, for a dying creature. Jake raised the pistol. Someone has to be. The general attacked. Jake rolled, dodged the first strike but not the second. He hit the wall hard. The general grabbed him by the throat. You think you're special? The alien hissed. You're a footnote, a mistake. Jake looked into his eyes. Then you should have left me sleeping in my tent. He stabbed the pulse pistol into the general's armor, pulled the trigger. A blast of energy sent both flying. Jake hit the floor. His ribs screamed. The general didn't move. He crawled to the core, pressed the trigger. A soft blue light began to grow. Countdown started. 60 seconds, he activated his comm. Zira, it's done. Get clear. Her voice broke. Come back, please. No time. Go. Jake, thank you for waking me up. He cut the line. He sat beside the core as the light grew, and he smiled. In orbit, the rebel fleet saw the flagship begin to pulse, then explode. A wave of light tore through the enemy ranks. Without the flagship's control, the fleet broke formation. Chaos followed. Enemy ships collided, lost navigation. One by one, they were picked off. Earth was safe. The battle was over. But Jake was gone. Weeks passed. Sarah stood on Earth, beneath blue skies, beside a monument. Here stood the one who reminded us what it means to fight for something more than survival. Her hand rested on the stone. Behind her, humans and aliens gathered, rebuilding, remembering. Delnoth now served as an envoy of peace. Old rebels became protectors, and Zira. Zira stayed, not to hide but to live. For both of them. One night under the stars, a child approached her. "Is it true?" the child asked. "Was Jake really just a normal person?" Zira smiled softly. "Yes, just a man who wanted to get some sleep and woke up a hero." The stars sparkled above, and somewhere, in the legacy of every saved world, Jake Carter lived on.